All right, well, it looks like we are live and recording, and just so Alex doesn't get on my case, we are going to pull up the chat here for a quick second. I moved the position of my camera. It's up there now. So hi, this is what my forehead looks like. Also, if you didn't catch the last live stream, I've been slowly working to EQ my mic so that it's louder and kind of equivalent with the volume of most YouTube channels. So if you're listening to this and you are freaked out because it's significantly louder than all my other videos, that would be why. Get used to it. It'll slowly start to equalize itself out. If you're new to the channel, basically what we do is every Monday at about 4 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Pacific, we go over a whole bunch of Excel spreadsheets having to do with various topics. Last week we did basketball. The week before that we did hockey. This week we're taking a step away from sports and we are doing Harry Potter. So aside from that, what we have been doing is late in the week, usually Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, I will do kind of a prerequisite live stream. We've been doing tier lists, and I think they've been working super well. So this week, we did my favorite tier list we've done so far. We ranked all 19 installments in the Wizarding World franchise, meaning all 7 Harry Potter books, all 8 Harry Potter films, the 3 Fantastic Beasts films, and Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the play. We did that in a tier list and then basically ranked them from worst to best, in my opinion, which is beyond scientific doubt. Objectively true. So we'll start things off talking about some non-Harry Potter stuff quick. There's a bunch of news going on this week in various topics that we typically discuss on the channel. For one, wrestling. There was the NXT Vengeance Day pay-per-view on Saturday. I thought it was decent. I thought it was a good showing for the NXT brand in something that has not really been taken seriously over the last year and a half for obvious reasons, but I thought it was a successful event. I thought the opening match and a couple of others on there were really well put together. The main event was a little disappointing, but if you haven't watched that opening match between Dijak and Carmelo Hayes, where Dijak's finger just literally snaps to the side, it's fun to watch. Commentary sold it. Anyways, wrestling aside, Formula One, the liveries have been starting to be revealed. Some of them look really nice. I like the Williams one that just came out this morning. Very impressed by the color combination there. Some big news coming out of Formula One is that Ford will be returning as a brand and an engine supplier in 2026. There are future plans in place for Andretti and General Motors to potentially be on the grid in 26, but we have yet to find out solid answers to those questions. Our Formula One live stream will be coming up in just a few weeks. In fact, let's check out our schedule here for upcoming live streams. So if I pull up the YouTube channel here, and if my Wi-Fi decides it's going to load, we have had some issues with Wi-Fi before, so if you're hearing things cut out or you're seeing things delayed, I will re-upload this as a completely separate recorded video, so there's not delays later, but obviously you can tell with as much as I'm doing on this one computer, things are going to be a little slow. So, come on. Let's load here, baby. On the channel. First of all, if you're new, welcome. This is Shichi. Like I mentioned, it's a lot of spreadsheet stuff, but it's mostly just talking about random items. And obviously right now you can see we are on the Harry Potter live stream. We'll talk a little bit about Fantastic Beasts and the cancellation coming up later. Where are my live streams here? What is the best way to see what our upcoming ones are? Probably go live. So if I click here and we go and check out our upcoming schedule, bear with me. I appreciate it. Bear with me. We're still in the first 5 minutes of this thing before we get into the nitty gritty. Red22 says, all of your thumbnails are clickbait. Yeah, that's kind of the point. It got you to click on this video, so that's kind of the point. None of them are actually true. But, well, actually, some of them are true. The Fantastic Beasts being canceled actually is true, so we'll talk about that. Next week is going to be a soccer live stream. We'll talk a little bit about the World Cup and all of the ongoing European soccer seasons, the upcoming MLS season this summer, various other soccer-related items or football if you're not from North America, followed by, the following week, a Game of Thrones live stream. We're going to talk about A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, and House of the Dragon-related items. And then after that, we'll do a college football, college basketball, college hockey live stream, talking about those items, the upcoming March Madness tournament, and then from that, the upcoming NFL draft. Followed by a racing live stream. We'll talk about the Formula One season, go over different items with Formula 1, 2, 3, and Formula E, as well as maybe a little bit of NASCAR and various rally-type items. After that, it's a Hollywood live stream. We'll be going over the Academy Awards, which will have taken place the day before, various other film-related items and non-essentials. Another Doctor Who live stream. The last one seemed to go pretty well, so we'll bring that back March 20th. March 27th, we'll be doing superhero live stream, talking about DC and Marvel, followed by another wrestling live stream. That'll be right after WrestleMania, so we'll discuss the outcome of NXT Stand and Deliver, as well as the WrestleMania pay-per-view for the year. Opening day baseball the following week. The week after that, April 17th, is going to be another hockey live stream, followed by another basketball live stream, followed by another football live stream, which I haven't made a new thumbnail yet because I'm waiting to make a clickbaity one based off of the Super Bowl victor this weekend. May 8th, we'll do a Star Wars live stream. May 15th, Avatar: The Last Airbender and Avatar: The Legend of Korra. May 22nd, we'll be talking about royalty, politics, and various political-related lists. Followed by a history live stream on June 5th, and splitting that gap, I'm going to put another Harry Potter live stream on May 29th. So that's the upcoming schedule. That's kind of what's going on our channel here. Other news-related items, obviously the NHL All-Star Game and the Pro Bowl were this weekend. Both were kind of disappointing events, in my opinion. Nobody's taking All-Star Game seriously anymore. I think they need to bring back stakes like they used to have for the MLB All-Star Game, because viewership numbers are staggeringly down. Maybe bringing the NHL All-Star Game back to Toronto next year will do some numbers for it, but having it in Florida this year and taking it as very non-seriously as they did was detrimental to the event this season. We'll see how it plays out in the upcoming years. Same with the Pro Bowl. Although I think the flag football element might stick around for a few years. We'll see. It seemed to be an overall success in comparison to the last few years. The Pro Bowl viewership has been going down significantly since for the last 15 years, actually. And then what else here? Oh, Kyrie Irving got traded from the Nets to the Mavericks. But with all that being said, sports, other items out of the way, today we are here to talk about Harry Potter. Like I mentioned, we had a previous live stream where we ranked all of the Harry Potter installments in a tier list. Go check that out. It's one of my favorite videos ever made, actually. I'm really proud of it. So it's about an hour 15 maybe of just us going over like the highlights and low points of every book, movie, and the play in the Harry Potter universe. For those of you that haven't watched that yet and don't know my backstory with this series, the first Harry Potter book came out a couple years before I was born, so obviously I didn't grow up reading it. My first indication that it was, not first indication, what am I trying to say here? My first exposure to the Harry Potter universe was the summer of 2005. That was the year that this one right here, the best Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, came out. My mom was reading the Harry Potter books at the time, and because it was such a big deal culturally, both in the United Kingdom and in the United States, she bought the book and bought me like an opening day poster. I have this huge poster that still hangs on the bedroom that I grew up in at my parents' house. It's basically the center frame is just like the book and the release date, and then around it, it's got various artwork from Mary Grandpré, the illustrator of the American version of Harry Potter. And when that book came out, I really wanted to read it, but obviously I was 6 years old. I'd never read any of the other books. My mom goes, well, you got to read the other ones first. So because Half-Blood Prince had come out, then I started reading the Harry Potter books when I was about 6 years old. Obviously, some of the themes were high above my reading level, but I did my best with the books and was super in the first 4 books. When I got to Order of the Phoenix, it slowed down significantly. I was not a huge fan of the Order of the Phoenix book. But then I saw Order of the Phoenix in theaters when it came out, and I've seen every movie in the Wizarding World franchise in theaters since then. That was fall of 2007. I've obviously read every book. I've read every book at least 3 times. It might actually be 5. Order of the Phoenix is the one that I've read the least amount of times just because it's so long and it's so kind of grudging to get through for most of it. So I am on what I believe to be my 4th reread or re-listen. I guess I've started to utilize audiobooks a lot more than reading as a visual medium because it's faster for me and I am able to comprehend things a lot better. But I have read this one at least 20 times, and I have read Sorcerer's Stone at least 50 times. I love Harry Potter. I grew up loving Harry Potter. I was obsessed with it as a kid. When I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old, I went as Harry Potter for Halloween. I had a little, like, Hedwig papier-mâché type doll owl thing that I took along with me. Had the wand. I have all the wands. I used to make my own wands. There was an artist in town here who used to do, like, youth art camps based around Harry Potter, so you'd make your own wands, your own potion kits, all of this type of stuff. I was obsessed with it. I love Harry Potter. I won't say I know everything about Harry Potter, but I do know a significant amount. It is one of my favorite media franchises that I've ever considered myself a hefty part of the fan, like pretty significantly tight in the fan base of that medium. So today we're going to talk about that. I have 3 Harry Potter related spreadsheets. The first one here is the least Harry Potter specific, right? So this, just this sheet here, what you are looking at is a list of, I want to say, yeah, almost 250 actors, right? And I have 6 media franchises, and I've only chosen these 6. This list would expand exponentially the more media franchises I added to it. Say something like James Bond or various other specifically British media franchises, because a lot of these actors are recycled and have double roles. So I have Harry Potter, Marvel, Black Mirror, The Crown, Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, and Sherlock. And I have essentially every actor who has played a part in every one of these franchises except Marvel. Marvel is the one just because the cinematic universe is so big, and there's so many Marvel films that I have not gone in and gone through every single actor or guest actor in Marvel. But for all of these other franchises, Harry Potter, Marvel, Black Mirror, The Crown, Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, and Sherlock, I have gone through basically every actor who has played a part in that universe, and then compared a dual role that they had in one of these other 5 franchises. So right now we're just going to go over Harry Potter. These are alphabetical in order of their Harry Potter characters and who they played in other media franchises. So first is Aberforth Dumbledore, Dumbledore's younger brother, correct? He was played in the films by a man named Kieran Hines, who, if you're familiar with Game of Thrones, you might know better as Mance Rayder. They look nothing alike. Props to the makeup and costuming department in Harry Potter, because Aberforth does not look anything like the actor Kieran Hines. And I was actually shocked to find that it was the same person. Jude Law obviously played Albus Dumbledore in the Fantastic Beasts films. He also played Jan Rog in Captain Marvel, the movie. Michael Gambon, probably the most famous version of Dumbledore. He played Dumbledore from the third through the 8th film. He also showed up in Doctor Who, the 2011 2010 Christmas special, A Christmas Carol, as a character called Kazran Sardik. Jeff Rawl played Amos Diggory, that's Cedric's dad. He was featured in classic Doctor Who as a character, as one of the Plantagenets in the serial Frontios. Ralph Ineson, you might know him best in Game of Thrones as a character called Dagmar Cleftjaw. He's the one that's basically Theon Greyjoy's right-hand man when they invade Winterfell in Season 2. He also played a character called Vince in Sherlock. He was a Ravager pilot in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he is in Harry Potter as one of the Caro siblings. Julian Glover, you might know as Grand Maester Pycelle from Game of Thrones. He also featured in Doctor Who as Richard I in the serial The Crusade. He played the character, or the historical figure, Cecil Boyd Rockfort in The Crown. And he voiced Aragog, the giant spider, in the Chamber of Secrets film. David Bradley, you probably know fairly well. He's a pretty prolific British actor. He played Argus Filch in the Harry Potter series. In Captain America, he was kind of an extra. He played a church keeper. Doctor Who, he has an interesting history in Doctor Who, right? So as far as I'm aware, he wasn't in Classic Who. So the first time that he actually showed up on screen in Doctor Who was in the 2012 episode Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. He played a character called Solomon. He was basically an arms and junk trader who was planning on stealing a whole bunch of dinosaurs and using them for ransom. The story's kind of wild. It's an interesting episode, and I can't remember the exact specifics of it. But basically, he has stolen a ship full of dinosaurs, and he's planning on selling them for a massive price. Anyways, after this episode, he then went on to play William Hartnell, the person who was the first actor to play the Doctor. He played this actor, William Hartnell, in a special highlighting the history of the show Doctor Who, which then landed him the role of actually playing the first Doctor in all related material since then. So because William Hartnell died in, was it the 70s? I can't remember what year William Hartnell actually died. But since the first Doctor actor has been dead for at least 40 years, they have brought David Bradley in to replace that original role, which he's done very well. And then Game of Thrones, you probably know him in a lesser light as Walder Frey. Mark Williams, known fairly specifically for playing Arthur Weasley. He's a comedy actor, has been in a lot of British things, but that's kind of his most famous role. He also featured in Doctor Who as Brian Williams. Don't get the two names confused. That is Rory Williams' dad in Season 7. Leela Hoffman, barely featured in Harry Potter. She played Augusta Longbottom. That's Neville's grandmother. I think she's only on screen in the first film. She featured as the old lady near the garbage cans in Night Terrors, the Season 6 Doctor Who episode. Her character's name was Mrs. Rossiter. Akin Ghazi played a cameo role as Auror number 3. I have no idea which film that was in, but played the role of Carter in The Doctor's Daughter. That's the fourth Doctor, or the Series 4 episode where the Doctor is basically cloned into a female character. Roger Lloyd Pack, one of my least favorite actors in both Doctor Who and Harry Potter. He played Barty Crouch Sr., kind of known for his overacting. He's kind of the British version of William Shatner in a lot of the stuff that I've seen him in. He played John Lumick, the creator of the Cybermen, in the the Series 2 episode Rise of the Cybermen. David Tennant, obviously you know him as the 10th Doctor. My first exposure to him as an American who wasn't at the time a Doctor Who fan was as Barty Crouch Jr., the real version of Mad Eye Moody in Goblet of Fire. He also played Kilgrave in... which Marvel series was it? Was it Jessica Jones? One of the early Marvel TV series before Disney Plus existed. He played the character of Kilgrave. Wunmi Mosaku played Katie in Playtest. And I'm trying to remember. So that is the character... Playtest Black Mirror. So that's the one where Wyatt Russell is basically... to make extra money to get home, becomes a test subject for VR games. And I believe Katie is the girlfriend that he had. No, excuse me. Katie is the basically the assistant to the owner of is it Sato Industries, the company. She's the one administering the test to Wyatt Russell's character in that episode. She also plays Hunter B-15, and I don't have listed which installment of Marvel that is. I am going to go back through these lists and kind of detail which episodes or which seasons they played specifically, especially in something like Marvel or like The Crown, just because there's so much material there. And then played a character called Beryl in Harry Potter, but like I said, I don't know exactly which film that was. Domhnall Gleeson is the son of Brendan Gleeson, who played Mad-Eye Moody. He played Bill Weasley in Harry Potter, which is actually a really fascinating detail because in the books they specifically say at the end of Half-Blood Prince that because of Bill Weasley's attack from the werewolf, Fenrir Greyback, he now kind of looks like Mad-Eye Moody, which is fascinating because this book came out before even his dad had been cast as Mad-Eye Moody. Maybe not before he was cast, but long before Domhnall Gleeson ever played Bill Weasley. He played Ash Starmer in Black Mirror, the episode Be Right Back. That's the one with Haley Steinfeld's character. No, not Haley Steinfeld. Haley Atwell, thank you. Early season 2, it's the one where her husband dies in a car accident, and she basically brings him back as a robotic duplicate. Most people know Domhnall Gleeson for roles like he plays kind of the secondary character, or the main not scientist character in Ex Machina, and he's also General Hux in Star Wars. That's what you might know him as. Nicholas Blaine played a character called Bob. Very specific. He played Millington in the series 13 episode Survivors of the Flux. And you might know him from Game of Thrones. He's the really fat guy at the beginning of season 2 in Karth, the Spice King. And I have no idea where Bob fits in the Harry Potter universe. I cannot imagine, I can't picture him being in any Harry Potter films at the moment. Rusty Goff played the chief bank teller at Gringotts. He is obviously a little person actor because he played Little John in Robot of Sherwood, the Series 8 Doctor Who episode. Freddie Stroma played Cormac McLagan in Half-Blood Prince. He also played the original version of Dickon Tarley in Season 6 of Game of Thrones. He was replaced for Season 7. Alfie Enoch, this is an interesting one for me as a Doctor Who fan, right? Because he's a black actor, and a young black actor. He played Dean Thomas in Harry Potter. And he also played Stephen Bainbridge in Season 3 of Sherlock. He's the soldier that gets stabbed during the wedding episode. But Alfie Enoch's dad is... what is his name? Russell. Oh my gosh, why am I spacing out on this right now? His dad was the original companion of the Doctor in Doctor Who, Ian Chesterton, like the very first companion. Is it William Russell? Don't make me look this up. Don't make me look this up. Yes, it is. But William Russell is A, white, and B, 98 years old. So the fact that he's got a 30-year-old son who is black, and in Harry Potter, when I found out that fact, it kind of shocked me, just because it's one of those you would never put together. They have different surnames. They don't look anything alike, but fun little fact there. And there's another fun fact coming up when we get to Dudley Dursley, but we will get there. Actually, he's not on this list, so we might as well talk about it now. Harry Melling, who plays Dudley Dursley, right? You might also know him from The Queen's Gambit. His grandfather was Patrick Troughton, who played the second Doctor. So all of these Harry Potter actors being British and all that, there are some cool connections to the Doctor Who universe. Moving on from Alfie Enoch, Graham Duff just played a random Death Eater. He also played a waiter in Deep Breath, so he's kind of known in these universes at least as just a cameo actor or an extra. Eva Alexander played diner waitress in... That would have been the 7th film. So not the one Harry hits on in the 6th film, but the one who serves them coffee in the Muggle world as they're on the run at the beginning of Deathly Hallows Part 1. She plays a nurse in Let's Kill Hitler. Toby Jones plays Dobby. And I got to double check to make sure I didn't just max out my microphone. Hello? Check, check, check. Okay, perfect. Yeah, Toby Jones plays Dobby. He also played Arnim Zola in the Captain America movies, the Winter Soldier and First Avenger. He played the Dream Lord in Amy's Choice, the Series 5 episode of Doctor Who, and he was also Culverton Smith in the 4th series of Sherlock. Imelda Staunton obviously now plays Queen Elizabeth II in The Crown. She voiced the interface of the hospital in The Girl Who Waited. That's the Series 6 Doctor Who episode. And obviously in the Harry Potter universe known as Dolores Umbridge. She's a phenomenal actress. I love Imelda Staunton. Jimmy Gardner played the bus driver, Ernie Prang, in Prisoner of Azkaban. He also played a character called Idman in the serial Underworld from classic Doctor Who. Warwick Davis, you probably know, he is the most successful non-lead actor of all time. Fun fact, he's the little person actor. You definitely recognize him. His first film role was as Wicket, I think is the name, of the main Ewok in Return of the Jedi. That was his first film role. He grew up a huge Star Wars fan. That was his entry into film. And being a little person the way he is, gets a lot of film roles and TV roles for characters such as that. He is the actor, bear with me during this sentence here, right? He is the actor who has made the most box office money from all his films combined, who has never played a lead role of any kind in a film, which is a fascinating fact. The most successful at the box office non-lead actor of all time is Warwick Davis. He played both Griphook in the final Deathly Hallows film, as well as voicing Griphook in the first film, even though at the time, I think the double was Vern Troyer, Mini-Me, right? He also played Flitwick in all of the films, both iterations of Flitwick, and then he played a character in Doctor Who called Porridge in Nightmare in Silver, who's basically the Emperor of the Universe. John Hurt played Garrick Ollivander. You know John Hurt from Alien and a whole bunch of other films, Elephant Man, 1984. He played Ollivander in the first and last Harry Potter film. He also played the War Doctor before he died in 2013 in Doctor Who. Mads Mikkelsen, now known as Gellert Grindelwald, the most recent iteration after the recasting of Johnny Depp. He played Caecilius, and I think I spelt that wrong because I think it's spelt with a C in Doctor Strange. Paul Mark Davis played the Ghost of the Cavalier. So, right, this is at the beginning, early on in the Sorcerer's Stone film, you see a ghost coming through the wall, basically swinging a sword around. That's the character he plays. He also played the Chief of the Future Kind in the Series 3 episode Utopia of Doctor Who. Kieran Shaw just played a goblin. He's another little actor. You'd probably recognize him if you saw him. He played a goblin as well as the emoji bot in Smile in Doctor Who. He also played the Listen creature from Series 8. Jimmy V, another little person actor, played a goblin as well as the Mox of Balhoun and the Skovox Blitzer in Doctor Who. Rade, oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher this last name. Rade Serbizija. I hope. Played Grigorovich in Deathly Hallows. Played a Russian general in the X-Men universe. And that's it for him. Spencer Wildling played Hagrid's stunt double. He also played a mean guard in Guardians of the Galaxy and the Minotaur in the God Complex Series 6 episode of Doctor Who. Obviously a stunt double, big man, plays a lot of like stunt or monster type characters. Kelly MacDonald, you'd probably recognize her voice as Merida from Brave, the Pixar movie. She played Helena Ravenclaw in Deathly Hallows Part 2. She also played Detective Karen Park in the episode Hated in the Nation of Black Mirror. That's the B one, right? She's the lead detective there. Charlotte Ritchie plays a random Hogwarts student. She also played the character Lynn in Resolution. Jim Broadbent, Horace Slughorn. We talked a little bit about him in the tier list live stream that we did last week. He played the Shy Doctor in Doctor Who and the Curse of the Fatal Death. That's the 1999 special episode of Doctor Who that they made featuring Rowan Atkinson as the primary Doctor. He also played Archmaester Ebros in Season 7 of Game of Thrones. Adrian Rollins is known for James Potter. He's basically played James Potter in every... the adult James Potter in every Harry Potter film since Sorcerer's Stone. He also played Dr. Ryder in Planet of the Ood. Ronan Raftery played Langdon Shaw as well as an army heckler in Captain America. Jessie Cave was the recast Lavender Brown from Half-Blood Prince on. She also played Edna, who was one of the dates that the main character in Hang the DJ in Black Mirror goes through. Ellie Darcy Alden played Lily Evans. She played the young Lily Evans, so not the adult version, because she also played Franny Latimer, the main child actress in the 2012 Christmas special, The Snowmen for Doctor Who. Gemma Chan, you'd probably know her from something like Eternals. She's the Asian actress who played Cersei. She was also in Sherlock as Su Lin Yao, Mia Bennett in The Waters of Mars, and played a character called Madame Ya Zhao. I believe that's in the Fantastic Beasts films. She plays a lot of, how do I say this respectfully? If there's a major film with a female Asian character, like a young female Asian character, she is often one of the main actresses to play roles like that. So you'd probably recognize her if you saw her. Jessica Hines played Mephelda Hopkirk in, I think most prominently, Order of the Phoenix. She also played Joan Redfern. No, excuse me. Mephelda Hopkirk is the voice from... Yes, she does not feature physically, I believe, in Order of the Phoenix, but she is the voice of that Howler. She also played Joan Redford in Human Nature, the best Doctor Who episode. Sinead Matthews played a character called Mildred. She also played Sarah, the best friend in Be Right Back, Black Mirror, as well as Marcia Williams in The Crown. Daisy Haggard played the voice of the Ministry Elevator. She plays a character called Betts in Nosedive. Oh, you would recognize her if you're a Doctor Who fan. She plays Sophie, James Corden's character, Craig, right? That's his wife in The Lodger. So Betts is this character in Nosedive. If you've ever seen Nosedive from Black Mirror, she's the one that they always run into in the elevator. Got an obnoxious voice in that scene, but also has the voice of an angel to voice the Ministry lift and all of the announcements at the Ministry of Magic. Shirley Henderson, you definitely know as Moaning Myrtle. That's kind of her most prominent role. She played Ursula Blake in the Doctor Who episode Love and Monsters. Ellie Haddington played a character called Mrs. Esposito. She played Professor Doherty in Last of the Time Lords. Heather Bleasdale played the original Mrs. Granger, as well as a character called Wilma in the Halloween Apocalypse. Michelle Fairley, you would know as Catelyn Stark from Game of Thrones. She had a brief cameo in Deathly Hallows Part 1 as Hermione's mom recast. Hugh Karshi played Mustafa Kama in Fantastic Beasts. Also played a character called Solomon, a completely different character called Solomon in Daleks in Manhattan, the Series 3 episode of Doctor Who. Claudia Kim played the human version of Nagini in the Fantastic Beasts film. She also played Helen Cho, the Doctor in Age of Ultron. John Cleese, you'd know. I know him as the voice of Fiona's dad from Shrek. But you'd know him as a member of Monty Python. He played Nearly Headless Nick in the first two films. He also played an art gallery visitor in the serial City of Death early on in Doctor Who. Natalia Tena, you'd recognize. I know her as Tonks. Game of Thrones fans might know her as Osha, the Wildling. She also played a character called Jennifer in White Christmas, who poisons herself and the main character, or not the main character, but of that scene. If you've seen White Mirror, the episode of Black Mirror, or White Christmas, the episode of Black Mirror, you know what I'm talking about. But she features there. Gemma Jones plays Poppy Pomfrey, the nurse at Hogwarts. She also played Penelope Carter in The Crown. Ian Hart is Quirrell, also played the character Graviton. Obviously, I don't know where that is from, or I would tell you. Stefan Rodri played Reg Cattermole in Deathly Hallows Part 1. The tall, kind of shrew-looking, red-headed man that Ron basically steps in for. He also played Hobart Hightower in House of the Dragon. Zoe Wanamaker, you'd know as Rolanda Hooch. She also featured in Doctor Who in 2 separate episodes as the character Lady Cassandra. Bill Nighy, you'd probably know best as Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean, but he plays Rufus Scrimgeour in Deathly Hallows Part 1. He also plays the character Dr. Black at the end of Vincent and the Doctor in Doctor Who. He goes uncredited, but he's basically the character at the end of Vincent and the Doctor who talks about Van Gogh and all of his greatest accomplishments as a painter in the museum. He's the one that gives that speech. That's Bill Nighy there. Josh Cowdery plays Senator Shaw in the original Fantastic Beasts films, played Agent Tyler in The Avengers. Lenny Henry played... so this one's funny to me. Lenny Henry plays the shrunken head from Prisoner of Azkaban. Also played Daniel Barton in Spyfall, who basically... He's kind of like this black Jeff Bezos or Larry Page type step-in character in Spyfall. Terrence Baylor plays the Bloody Baron in at least the first film, might be the first 2 films, played Major Barrington, a character in the 1960s serial The War Games. Simon Fisher Becker played the Fat Friar, also played Dorian Maldivar in at least Series 6 of Doctor Who. Elizabeth Spriggs played the Fat Lady, I believe the original Fat Lady. She was recast, and I believe that's the original one. Played Tabby in the 7th Doctor serial Paradise Towers. Derek Riddle played Torquil Travers. So Travers, I believe is one of the Death Eaters. Played Sir Robert in Tooth and Claw. Yes, Travers is one of the Death Eaters. And Sir Robert was essentially the main non-Queen Victoria character in Tooth and Claw. And then Marnix van den Broek is a Dutch, I'm guessing Dutch, might be Belgian, Dutch stunt actor who played the werewolf version of Lupin, as well as the Silence, like the physical Silence characters in Doctor Who. And then last but not least, Rhys Evans, who you'd probably know best as like Xenophilius Lovegood. He also, I haven't put him on this list as the Lizard. Let's see, I think that was Amazing Spider-Man 2 that he played the Lizard. Dr. Connors. He also plays Otto Hightower in House of the Dragon. So very wide range of acting skills. Very different characters that he's playing in all of these things. So those are all of the Harry Potter actors. Obviously, it goes on for about 250 characters, but I won't bore you through all that. Thank you for sitting through that one. We'll skip on now to our characters sheet. And there's a quick picture of me. It looks like our Wi-Fi is kind of all over the place, so I do apologize for delays there. This is a characters list, so I also have Star Wars on here too, but this is a Harry Potter specific live stream, so we'll stick to that. I have a whole bunch of characters, not all of them. Definitely haven't gone through and tried to list every character in Harry Potter or Fantastic Beasts yet. Just a whole bunch of main ones. So I have their name, basically where they grew up or where they're stated to be from, their date of birth if they have one. This one's italicized. This is an approximate date. We know he was probably born in 1883, Aberforth was. But we don't know the exact date. Their death date and the cause of death, who they were killed by or what killed them. Their wand, wood, size, and core, if they ever say it. Their house, their Patronus, if it's corporeal. Their blood status, and then their actor in the series, and then their Boggart. So Aberforth, Dumbledore. We'll go to a good one here that we have kind of all the information for at the moment. I haven't gone through and figured out everything for all of these characters, so it is a pretty sparse chart so far. But Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore grew up in Mold in the Wold. I believe they hint that that's in the west of England. Was born August 20th, 1881. I haven't actually looked up the date of his death. I know it is on the wiki if I looked it up. Was killed by Severus Snape. His wand, at least the one that they have given us detail on, plus he held this for most of the series, so I'm giving him credit on this one, was the Elder Wand, 15 inches long with a thestral tail as its core. He was in House Gryffindor. His Patronus was a phoenix. He was a half-blood. Was played by both Richard Harris and Michael Gambon in the original series. And his Boggart, I don't remember if they ever state it specifically, but if not stated in the books, then J.K. Rowling has indicated that his Boggart was the corpse of Ariana Dumbledore. Someone like Bellatrix Lestrange was born. That cannot be right, so I'm going to delete that out. Died in the Battle of Hogwarts, which took place on Saturday, May 2nd, 1998. Was killed by Molly Weasley. Her wand was walnut, 12 3/4 inches long, and dragon heartstring. She was a Slytherin, pureblood, played by played by Helena Bonham Carter. And her Boggart was worthlessness, which I don't know how you physically display that, but definitely an interesting idea put out by J.K. Rowling there. But we have a whole bunch of characters here. Aberforth, Moody Dumbledore, Amos Diggory, Ariana Dumbledore, Filch, Arthur Weasley, Barty Crouch Jr., Bellatrix Lestrange, Zabini, Cedric, Cho, Colin, Creevy, Fudge, Dean Thomas, Dennis Creevy, Umbridge, Malfoy, Ernie Macmillan, Flitwick, Fred Weasley, Garrick Ollivander, Grindelwald, George Weasley, Lockhart, Ginny, Goyle, Hannah Abbott, Harry, Hermione, Slughorn, James Potter, Kingsley Shacklebolt, Lavender, Lily Evans, Lucius Malfoy, Luna Lovegood. I've spelt Miku Gregorovich wrong, I know for sure. Minerva McGonagall, Molly Weasley, Nagini, Narcissa Malfoy, Neville Longbottom, Nymphadora Tonks, Pansy Parkinson, Peter Pettigrew, Quirrell, Lupin, Ron, Hagrid, Scrimger, however you want to pronounce it. I've heard both ways. Scabior, Seamus, Snape, Sirius, Susan Bones, Trelawney, Voldemort, Crabbe, Xenophilius Lovegood, Fenrir Greyback, Antonin Dolohov, Yaxley, Charity Burbage, Pomona Sprout, Aurora Sinistra, Cuthbert Binns, Ferenz, Bane, Gropp, Madame Maxine, Karkaroff, Percival Dumbledore, and Kendra Dumbledore are all the ones I've listed so far. So eventually we'll get through all of them, which will be a long process. But most of these information compilations are kind of a long process. I try to get to every sheet at least once a day and put in just a single line of data specifically for, like, I have a sheet we'll go over sometime in the future that talks about like mountains or lakes, and it's basically a list of all like notable bodies of water or notable mountains, and it's like the ranges that they belong to or like how big they are kind of thing, their prominence, who's the first to climb them kind of thing. And those where I have like 1,500 entries listed, I'll try to go through at least one every day, just a line of filling out all that information for that specific entry, just because there's so much information out there. And then last but not least, I have my Harry Potter specific chart here. Let me get a drink here. Finish off my water before I do this one. So what you're looking at here is kind of a chart version of the layout of Hogwarts, right? So each tower has 7 floors, plus a ground floor, plus the basement level, plus the dungeon level. And we have about 30 towers or locations, not just towers, but corridors too and halls. And basically, I have started to list out where, at least in the wiki, so it's not just book information, but maybe it's stuff like on Pottermore or Wizarding World that J.K. Rowling has indicated or given us specific information to where things belong in the layout of Hogwarts, even though it's like it's a moving castle, that kind of thing. But where everything is located. So, right, the astronomy classroom is going to be on the 7th floor of the astronomy tower. The armory is kind of hinted to be on the 3rd floor of the West Bell Tower, given the layout of Hogwarts. That one I know is kind of specific. They don't list it directly, but it makes sense because of when they're running away from Fluffy in Sorcerer's Stone, and I know this because I've been doing the reread, they start from the armory, and so that's how they end up near the Fluffy corridor, which would make sense being on the 3rd floor in where they're supposed to meet Malfoy. Other things like Filch's office in the basement near the East Bell Tower. There's an artifact room. The Turris Magnus. They mentioned that there's a Grindylow Lagoon in the Marauders map. So it's this big room that's basically a giant pool for Grindylows. Defense against the Dark Arts, Arithmancy, that sort of thing. Headmaster's office, Ravenclaw common room, and dormitories. That all of that jazz. Yeah, that's kind of specific there. So we don't have a ton of information on other stuff. And like I said, it's a moving castle, so things move around. Here we have a list of the 7 Horcruxes. This is in order of when they were created or hinted to be created. So in order, the diary, the ring, the locket, the cup, the diadem, Nagini, and Harry Potter. The diary was created, we know specific date, Sunday, June 13th, 1943. Myrtle Warren in Hogwarts. Doesn't list how they're killed. But so the victim was Myrtle Warren. It happened in Hogwarts. The diary was hidden by Lucius Malfoy, or was given to Lucius Malfoy. Was destroyed by Harry Potter with basilisk venom in the Chamber of Secrets on May 29th, 1993. The ring was created that summer by killing Tom Riddle Sr. at the Riddle House. It was hidden in the Gaunt Shack. It was found and destroyed by Albus Dumbledore with the Sword of Gryffindor in his office at Hogwarts in July of 1996. So that would have taken place right before Half-Blood Prince. The locket, this took place before 1979 when he killed a Muggle tramp somewhere unknown. Was hidden in the Crystal Cave, was destroyed by Ron Weasley with the Sword of Gryffindor in the Forest of Dean a few days after Christmas 1997. The cup happened after 1946 when he killed Hepzibah Smith at her house. It was hidden in Gringotts in the Lestrange Vault, was destroyed by Hermione Granger with basilisk venom in the Chamber of Secrets during the Battle of Hogwarts. The diadem, same case, but with the Albanian peasant in Albania, was hidden in the Room of Requirement, destroyed by Vincent Crabbe on accident with Fiendfire in the Room of Requirement, also in the Battle of Hogwarts. Nagini, this was the summer of 1994. Bertha Jorkins went to Albania and was killed by Voldemort. Nagini was taken with Voldemort basically everywhere. Was killed by Neville Longbottom with the Sword of Gryffindor at Hogwarts, Battle of Hogwarts, and then Harry Potter. The death date of his parents was Halloween 1981. The victim was Lily Potter at Godric's Hollow, hidden with Harry Potter, obviously. Destroyed by Voldemort and the Avada Kedavra curse in the Forbidden Forest during the Battle of Hogwarts. So, interesting things to note here, at least for me. Harry only destroyed one of them, right? Dumbledore destroyed one, Ron destroyed one, Hermione destroyed one, Crabbe destroyed one, Neville destroyed one, and then Voldemort killed Harry. 2 of them were killed by the basilisk venom, 3 of them by the Sword of Gryffindor, impregnated with basilisk venom, 1 by Fiendfire, and 1 by Avada Kedavra. 2 took place in the Chamber of Secrets specifically. 1 took place in the... I believe that scene takes place in the Great Hall. That one took place in Dumbledore's office. That one in the Room of Requirement. So they were basically all destroyed in Hogwarts or on the Hogwarts grounds except for the locket. Then we have a list of spells here. So this is another incomplete spell, or incomplete list, but this is every spell that is listed on the Harry Potter wiki the type of spell that it is, the color of the spell, and the result of the spell. So when I put this list together, I didn't have this result or this explanation side until I got to the Fs. So we get through all these and I don't have this complete up to F, but then we get into a whole bunch of other spells. We could go, so let's go alphabetical. Let's sort this thing alphabetically by the incantations. Accio is the summoning charm. Aguamenti, the water-making charm. Alohomora, the unlocking charm. This is the Animega spell, so this is considered a transfiguration. Arresto Momentum, the slowing charm. Avada Kedavra, the killing curse. Other spells that we know pretty well here. Confundo, the Confundus charm. Crucio, the Cruciatus curse. Defindo, the severing charm. Engorgio, the engorgement charm. Episci is like a nose or a blood healing charm. I don't know that there's anything more specific to that in the wiki. I could go check that out. Evanesco is the vanishing spell. Expecto Patronum, the Patronus charm. Expelliarmus, the disarming charm. Finite Incantatum, the general counter spell. Imperio, the Imperious curse. Incarcerus, the incarceration spell, ties the targets with ropes. Incendio is the fire-making spell. Langlock jinx. Levicorpus, the body levitating jinx. Lumos and all of its fun versions, you could say. Morse Mordre. Nox. Petrificus Totalis, the full body bind curse. This one's kind of cool. The 4-point spell. You just say point me, and then your wand basically becomes a compass. Protego, the shield charm. Reducio, the shrinking charm. Reducto, the reductor curse. Reparo, the mending charm. Ricta Sempra, which Harry uses on Malfoy in the film. He might actually use it in the book. It's been a while since I read Chamber of Secrets. But he uses that on Malfoy during the dueling club in the film. And it is not a tickling charm in the film. It just kind of throws him backwards really aggressively. Salvio Hexia, Hermione uses a lot in Deathly Hallows. Sectum Sempra is the always cutting curse. Stupefy, the stunning spell. Tarantalegra, the dancing feet spell. Titillando, the tickling hex. And then Wingardium Leviosa, the levitation charm. And then we have a bunch of other spells listed that don't specifically have an incantation that we know of. And then last but not least, I have a list of teachers. So the Harry Potter universe takes place right from fall of 1991 to the spring of 1998. So this is just the school years. So when Harry was at Hogwarts, and what I'll do here is go to View and freeze the first column. So these are all the classes that are offered at Hogwarts that we know of from the wiki. So Advanced Arithmancy and Regular Arithmancy were taught by Septima Vector. Unknown Alchemy teacher. Ancient Runes was Bathsheba Babbling. Apparition was Wilkie Twycross. That was the ministry official. Unknown art teacher. There is a Muggle and magical art class that takes place at Hogwarts. Astronomy was Aurora Sinistra. Care of Magical Creatures was originally taught by Sylvanus Kettleburn, then Hagrid for a year, then kind of Hagrid, but also Professor Grubbly Plank for 2 years. Then Hagrid came back and basically continues to teach to the present day, according to the wiki. Charms, Phileas Flitwick, who was also head of Ravenclaw House. Defense Against the Dark Arts. The year before Harry was a teacher called Olivia Green. And then it was Quirrell, Lockhart, Lupin, Moody, Umbridge, Snape while he was head of Slytherin House, and then Amicus Caro. We currently don't know who the teacher is for that. Divination was taught by Trelawney as well as Ferenz. Flying, Rolanda Hooch. Ghoul Studies was unknown. The headmaster was originally Dumbledore, and then Snape, and then Minerva McGonagall, who we believe is still the headmistress, but we are not entirely sure of that according to the wiki. Pomona Sprout, Herbology, head of Hufflepuff House, succeeded by Neville Longbottom in 2010. History would have been Cuthbert Binns since all the way back in at least, when did he die? At least 1889 is when he died, so he would have been teaching before that. Magical Theory, unknown. Muggle Studies was Charity Burbage for a bit, starting in 1993. We don't know who it was the first 2 years of Harry's tenure at Hogwarts, and then Alecto Caro. Unknown music teacher. There is a music class. In the films, it's Flitwick, but it's not stated in the books who it actually is that teaches that. Snape for potions, followed by Slughorn, but as head of Slytherin House. Before that, it was also Slughorn. And then Transfiguration, before she was, before she was headmistress, it was McGonagall, head of Gryffindor House. Before that, this is kind of a canon blunder because of the Fantastic Beasts films. Dumbledore in the books is never stated to be... this is correct. In the books, he's never stated to be the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor. But in the Fantastic Beasts films, it shows him as that. However, he was the Transfiguration professor at least since 1927. And then Xylomancy was taught by Sybil Trelawney, Ferenz for a year, and then Trelawney took that back from Ferenz. And then underneath that, I have Minister for Magic. Currently, it's Hermione Granger, preceded by Kingsley Shacklebolt, following the Battle of Hogwarts. Before that, it was Pius Thicknesse. Before that, it was Rufus Scrimgeour. Before that, it was Cornelius Fudge from 1990. Before that, it was Millicent Bagnold, Harold Mincham, Eugenia Jenkins, Nobby Leach, Ignatius Tuft, Wilhelmina Tuft, Leonard Spencer Moon, Hector Foley, Lorcan McLeod, Archer Evermond, Venusia Crickerly, Ferris Spaven, Dugald McPhail, Priscilla DuPont, Evangeline Orpington, Hortensia Millifort, Rodolphus Lestrange, Adeline Gamble, Josephina Flint, Grogan Stump, Artemisia Lufkin, and that's as far back as I got. It does go back for several centuries. I've been going 100 years at a time and just filling it out as far as I can each century. But that is just kind of a comprehensive timeline chart of the teachers and officials at Hogwarts, specifically during Harry's time. And then this would have been during Voldemort's time. And then for whatever reason, we know a lot about 1890. And I can't remember if that's a video game thing or where that originally came from. But we know who the teachers were in the 1990 school year. Very more diverse, believe it or not. Satyavati Shah, Bai Howen, Abraham Ronan, Dina Heckett, Mudia Onai, and Chio Kogawa. So Hogwarts used to be a lot less white, and then it became white for the series. Nice of her to think of that. Aesop Sharp, Mudia Onai. Okay, so that's all we have for our Harry Potter charts here. And then what I wanted to do at the end of this live stream, because we've only been going for about an hour, right? So I wanted to just go over some... We had a question in the last live stream that said, what is my favorite Harry Potter theory? And I had to really think about that one. I don't know if there's a specific theory about Harry Potter that's not canonized that I really enjoy. A lot of them are kind of... The thing about Harry Potter, right, as opposed to something like Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones is built to allow the readers to find theories out of things or to contemplate information that is given that might not necessarily be factual. Something like Harry Potter, theories are kind of thrown out there for the characters to figure out, but in terms of universe building, there's not a lot of loose ends, right? Most of it is pretty straightforward. Canon is what the canon says it is, unless, J.K. Rowling writes something on Pottermore that changes her thought process. There's a fantastic channel I like, run by a guy named Silas, called Harry Potter Theory. You've probably heard of it, especially if you're finding this channel by like my audiobooks or just because you were searching for Harry Potter and you found this. Harry Potter Theory and Harry Potter Theory Extra, his secondary channel, are phenomenal. They talk about, basically, they explain the Harry Potter series for those that aren't super in the know or super in-depth the way like hardcore fans like me and Silas are, or Morgan from Movie Flame. He explains things very well, but it's called Harry Potter Theory because he does go through various theories that fans have thrown out there, or theories that he might have. One that I really think is fascinating, and it's one I've put a lot of thought in, and it can't be true for a lot of reasons. But it's the theory that Draco Malfoy isn't Lucius Malfoy's son. And it can't be true because he's so much like his father, right? He doesn't want to be like his father, but he is so much like his father. But a lot of there's been speculation, especially because of the sixth book, that maybe Lucius isn't Draco's actual father, or maybe Snape is the father, and that's why Snape hates Harry so much, because his son doesn't get along with Harry, plus he's got the added backstory. That would be the one I would think of. Another really good one, and one that is actually plausible, is the theory that all of the events. So one specifically is that the events of Sorcerer's Stone were orchestrated by Dumbledore, right? Like, there's a reason that very immature wizards were able to solve these massive traps and puzzles to get to this huge prize, and it was the theory is that Dumbledore put it together for them to solve, to basically prove their heroism. But the theory then goes beyond that maybe it wasn't just Sorcerer's Stone that Dumbledore was orchestrating, but maybe he knew that, or maybe somehow he put together that the Chamber of Secrets was going to open and let the things happen, again, to prove Harry's heroism, or to learn more about Horcrux, or to basically expand his knowledge on what Voldemort's plans would be going forward. Prisoner of Azkaban, you could argue the responsibility of time travel kind of thing, or what would Harry do in this situation? How can he test Harry's humanity or skills or daringness or stuff like that? Same with the Triwizard Tournament. Maybe he's the one that kind of orchestrated Mad-Eye Moody. Well, first of all, if he knows Moody so well, why wouldn't he know that that wasn't the real Moody? But then maybe he figured out that it wasn't the real Moody and wanted to see how Harry would handle the situation, knowing that there was probably a trap at the end of this whole Portkey graveyard situation. Order of the Phoenix, same thing. We actually know that one was fairly well orchestrated by Dumbledore. Half-Blood Prince, same thing. So basically it's saying that not just the last 3 books were under the orchestration of Dumbledore, but all of them were. And he had been planning the whole thing from the beginning. So those are theories that I like. But I did want to go on this Screen Rant article. There's 11 Harry Potter fan theories. No, that are actually confirmed, and 8 that should be. So the first one, Azkaban was a way of containing the Dementors. So the argument here, right, is that Azkaban wasn't specifically a prison for humans or wizards, but that was their way of trapping or taking all of the Dementors in the world and attracting them to a specific spot. I can understand the logic behind that, but if you know the backstory about Azkaban, It was created by a wizard called Azkaban. Azkaban Prison was created by a wizard, an evil wizard, by the name of It was created by a wizard by the name of it's not telling me yet. Acrisdus, thank you. There was a dark wizard in the Middle Ages called Acrisdus. And this was his fortress, his evil lab, and the breeding ground for his creation. And he created the Dementors. He would lure Muggle sailors in, torture them, and murder them. And then out of these experiments basically came the Dementors. So there could be some credence to this idea that after he was gone, and the Ministry of Magic had to figure out what to do with Dementors, because they do breed, maybe it, like, putting people in Azkaban as food for these Dementors was a way of keeping them away from, like, the mainland of Great Britain and Europe and all that stuff. I do kind of like that theory, but I don't know how well it meshes with the origin of both the Dementors and Azkaban itself. Voldemort created more Horcruxes than initially thought. This one is actually true. Quirrell became a Horcrux, and that is why Harry Potter destroyed him the way he did. Lycanthropy is a metaphor for HIV. This is actually true. It's not necessarily just HIV. It's all illnesses or afflictions that have taboos in society, right? So it's almost like the biblical archetype of leprosy, where even after these people have been cured, or when, like, if Lupin's not a werewolf, he's still shunned from society because society sees this disease as such a horrible thing. So yes, this one, it actually is true. The baby that Harry saw in Limbo was Voldemort's fate in the afterlife. This is true. It's not actually stated in the book that this is true, but J.K. Rowling has confirmed that's what happened. Voldemort destroyed his soul so many times that once he finally died, he was trapped as that suffering creature in Limbo forever. Hermione smelled Ron's hair in Slughorn's potion. This one is not one that I'm familiar with. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. I have heard this theory that she smelled Ron. It wasn't specifically Ron's hair, but I have heard theories that she either smelled Ron or she smelled Victor Crumb in Slughorn's potion, and that's why she lied about or stuttered with the way she described what she smelled in the potion. Dudley became more compassionate due to his encounter with the Dementor. This is factual. And actually, it goes down to this not necessarily theory, but almost an explanation that J.K. Rowling gave, where after this event, where basically this is the first time Dudley ever felt remorse or responsibility for his past actions. So after the encounter with the Dementors happened, that's when Dudley went, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and started to actually think about why he did the things he did, or why he acted the way he did. And that's why over the next 2 books, you see him become compassionate and friendly with Harry, to the point where, as J.K. Rowling has stated, after the events of the series, they were on Christmas card terms. They didn't get along very well, but they got together for holidays so that the cousins could spend time, or their kids could spend time with each other, that sort of thing. But yes, this one is fairly factual, but there's more details behind it. Chamber of Secrets was protected by other descendants of Salazar Slytherin. What does that mean specifically? Was just one of the people who discovered the secret. Okay, so Protected by other descendants. I don't understand what they mean by protected. If it means that the other descendants of Salazar Slytherin hid it, then that could be factual. So I'm going to say no on this one because it's kind of a weighted question or weighted theory, right? So in canon, right, the only people who are really able or known to really be able to understand Parseltongue or be able to speak it properly are descendants of Salazar Slytherin. So they technically would be the heir. So the Chamber of Secrets would only be able to be discovered by descendants of Salazar Slytherin. So that is where this chamber was protected, is correct. But it's not protected by them necessarily. It's just none of them gave up the location to it. And I'm not sure what they mean by protected by other descendants, because if that's your argument, Voldemort didn't protect the Chamber of Secrets. He exposed it. So I don't get the wording here. So I'm going to skip past this one. Harry didn't name one of his kids Remus because he was saving the name for Teddy. Kind of. So Teddy's middle name is Remus, which might be part of it. And there's probably some truth in he didn't use the name Remus for Teddy's kids, but Teddy was about the age of his kids, so the whole generation thing could, it would have worked, kind of. But he's obviously going to name his first kid after his dad. And what? Yeah, and then his middle name would be Sirius. Lily Luna, that's a girl. You're not going to use Remus as a girl's name. And then Albus Severus. So I don't think it had anything to do with disrespect for Remus Lupin. It was just he wasn't saving it for Teddy, but it was... Yeah, I guess this one's kind of true. He wasn't saving it for Teddy, but it was Teddy's to use, and he had enough names where he didn't need to use it. Magic is genetic and just like midi-chlorians. Yeah, this one's factual. In fact, magic is a dominant gene in the Harry Potter universe, right? So magic appears in all descendants of magical people, except in squibs, and squibs are an anomaly, right? But magic appears in almost every case in children of one magical parent or one partially magical parent, and sometimes in just random muggle-born people. So yeah, this one's factual. Godric Gryffindor needed a sword for fighting muggles. No. This one is not true. Godric Gryffindor, and it's stated in canon, used a sword to give other wizards a fair fight. That is canon. He didn't use the sword necessarily to fight muggles, except to give them a fair chance. For the exact same reason he would use it on wizards. It had nothing to do with fighting muggles without magic specifically. It was, he used it on all types of beings, magical and non-magical, to give them a fair fight because he knew he would destroy everyone being as powerful a wizard as he was. So this one is not true. Ariana Dumbledore was an Obscurial. Yes, this is canon. Obscurials didn't necessarily become a canonical thing until Fantastic Beasts, but all of the evidence for her condition and what happened is in line with her being an Obscurial. Harry Potter fan theories that should be confirmed. The mysterious doorway was a means of executing criminals. Not true. The mysterious doorway was an experiment. So, it was not if they used it to execute criminals, it wasn't specifically for that purpose. It was to experiment and better understand death. This is explained in... Let me see if I can find it very quickly. Order of the Phoenix. They are at the Ministry. So there's the death chamber, and there's also the brain chamber and the time chamber. And the prophecy chamber. I feel like there's 5. There might be more than that. Time, prophecy, death, brain/mind, and memory. And I'm trying to find the other one at least, or just... Oh, and space. The other one is space. So, no, it was not used specifically to execute criminals. If they did execute criminals with it, it was out of experimentation, because the whole purpose of the Department of Mysteries is to better understand the magical aspects of things that humans or wizards don't understand, right? So that's why they have a chamber for prophecies, to better understand and experiment with prophecies. They have a room with literal brains to better understand brains, memory, the way the human mind works. They have one for space to better understand space and the movement of the universe. One with time to better understand how time works, that sort of thing. And then the death chamber was to better understand death and where people go after they die. So the fact that Sirius fell through it and just disappeared, he became kind of a it didn't happen on purpose, but he became an experiment as part of this magical veil doorway sort of thing. So no, that one's not specifically factual. Triwizard tournament participants are signed up using a variation of the Unbreakable Vow. Yeah, that's fairly accurate for what we understand about how the Goblet of Fire works. I don't think we need to really go into that one much more. It doesn't need to specifically be... No, I don't want to look at that. It doesn't need to specifically be the Unbreakable Vow, but it would be a spell definitely similar to that. Dumbledore fixed Hagrid's wand using the Elder Wand. No, Hagrid doesn't have a wand. It is stated several times in the books that Hagrid built his umbrella using pieces of his shattered wand, and that's why it works the way it does. So, if this theory is saying that Dumbledore was the one to make Hagrid's umbrella out of his broken wand, that could be factual. But the way that this is worded here isn't specific. It's possible that Hagrid purchased a new wand at some point. Yeah, this is just saying that Hagrid had a wand, which he didn't. No, his umbrella was built out of the broken pieces of his former wand. We know that to be factual. The founders of Hogwarts each reflect the 4 countries of the United Kingdom. Yeah, that one is actually obvious. I feel like this isn't a theory. This is just like a thing. Godric Gryffindor was born in the West Country of England. He's from England. Helga Hufflepuff was Welsh. Rowena Ravenclaw was Scottish, and Salazar Slytherin was Irish. So, yep, that would be factual, and their colors also help to display this, right? Godric Gryffindor is red, red being the color of the St. George's Cross of England. St. David's Cross of Wales is black and yellow. The St. Andrew's Saltire of Scotland is blue, and then Salazar Slytherin is Irish, so he's going to be green. So yeah, that one's pretty obvious. Barty Crouch Jr., Bill Weasley, and Percy Weasley used time turners during their time at Hogwarts. I don't know enough behind this one to give an opinion. I don't know. I can't remember if it's ever stated specifically that Hermione's use of a time turner is the first time that time turners have been used in the school specifically. Due to the fact that Hermione was an amazing student, take them all. It's been stated that Barty Crouch acquired 12 owls during their time. No, I don't like this one specifically because what we know about all of these characters is that they're very smart people, right? We know that Barty Crouch Jr. was an incredible student. That's shown in the fact that he's an incredible teacher, right? Mad Eye Moody didn't teach the kids in Harry's fourth year. Barty Crouch Jr. did, and he was very good at it, and arguably the best teacher they had in Defense Against the Dark Arts, second maybe to only Lupin. Bill Weasley was incredibly smart. He was a code breaker for Gringotts after he left Hogwarts, and Percy Weasley was also incredibly smart in a political sense. So I'm going to have to shun this one because I don't think, given what we know about their characters, that it's necessary for them to have used time turners to get better grades. Voldemort's rudimentary body was created from Bertha Jorkin's unborn... Ooh, I don't like that one. I really don't like that one. Can we skip that one? I just don't really want to think about that, actually. Voldemort ruled from the shadows because he was scared of other wizarding governments. Yes. Yes. If this is not canon, this is fairly close to what could be canon. And actually, so it's twofold here, right? So Voldemort, his quest for power was almost only to conquer death, right? He didn't necessarily want power for power's sake. He wanted the ability to conquer death, and him having power allowed him the resources to accomplish that goal. He did not need the entire world for that. He was scared of the government to begin with, actually, and so it makes sense that he would avoid other countries and just focus on the United Kingdom, because all of the elements that went into him conquering death would have taken place in the United Kingdom. So that makes sense to me. The reason Quidditch makes no sense is due to advances in broom technology. One possible answer for why Quidditch doesn't make sense involves the changing in broom making technology. There are different qualities in brooms. It is possible that brooms weren't as fast in the olden days, which meant that it took a lot longer for seekers to catch up with the golden snitch. Well, yeah, that's factual. Wizarding World is just too slow at adapting to developments in the game to change the rules. I wouldn't say Quidditch doesn't make sense. Yeah, I mean, the core of this theory is true, right? Like, Quidditch is faster than it used to be because of changes in broom technology. And that's why, like, catching the golden snitch almost automatically wins you the game because of how many points it's worth. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, that theory is true. I don't like this idea that Quidditch doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're arguing that it doesn't make sense because of the point system, like, there's a lot of sports with weird point systems, right? Formula One has a really bizarre point system. But we could consider that one there. Okay, so that goes through all of these 19 theories. Like I mentioned, if you're interested in Harry Potter theories or more information on the Harry Potter series, there are 2 channels that I'll direct you to. And I'll put a link right about now in one of these corners here. But one of them is Movie Flame, run by a gentleman called Morgan. He does a lot of Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, trying to think what other... It's occasionally Marvel, but kind of traditional, like, if you're aged 20 to 25, 26-ish, like, he's kind of got the niche for you in terms of, like, content that you would have grown up with as a child. So, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender, all the ones I just listed, that sort of thing. So his mindset on, like, the fandoms he's a part of is very similar to what I would be because we're roughly the same age, that sort of thing. Check him out at Movie Flame. The other one I would say is Harry Potter Theory, Silas, his 2 channels. I work on weekends at an ice rink, and every time I'm on a Zamboni, all I listen to is Harry Potter Theory. So I hear that little I hear that little jingle, excuse me, and I just automatically associate that with doing my job, and I love it. So shout out to both of those guys. They do incredible work. They put a lot of effort into their videos. Occasionally, I think their opinions are wrong, but I appreciate what they do. I love what they do. I admire what they do, and I wish that I could do what they do as well as they do, because obviously right now you're seeing an unedited live stream. Very minimal technology and effort that goes into the post-production of these videos. And I would love to A, have the time, B, make the money off of that time the way they do, and just C, have the talent that they do to put the effort that they do into all their videos. I absolutely love it. If either of them are watching right now, Silas, Morgan, thank you very much for all you do for the Harry Potter community. We really do appreciate it. You do wonderful things in keeping this fandom alive, especially during turbulent times, with the films, the way the films are going, and just the controversy surrounding the author of the novels. I appreciate everything you do in keeping this fan base and this medium specifically, this story, keeping it alive and keeping it fun. I thank a number of Game of Thrones creators the same way for keeping the Game of Thrones community engaged with the books and the content that we love, even after the dark times that were the end of Game of Thrones into House of the Dragon, where now we're seeing a revitalization of this franchise that had felt dead for so long, but all of these content creators kept it alive. So on this live stream specifically, Silas, Morgan, thank you very much. The last thing I wanted to talk about before we close is just the latest. You probably caught the thumbnail from this live stream, and the news coming out of Warner Bros. Is that Fantastic Beasts, last I checked, the word on the Fantastic Beasts franchise is that Warner Brothers Discovery, right? The overarching corporation that owns and runs the Harry Potter universe and the Wizarding World franchise. They do not have plans in the foreseeable future to continue the Fantastic Beasts films. While I see this as disappointing because we didn't make it to the climactic battle between Dumbledore and Grindelwald that we all wanted to see during this series because of it, I can't say this cancellation isn't warranted. I mean, the films were not great. Moving on from the original Fantastic Beasts, they definitely stuck with the wrong characters. They should have, from the beginning, focused the franchise on an Albus Dumbledore, Gellert Grindelwald story, which they didn't. And in setting up the franchise the way they did, they basically set themselves up to fail. Obviously, there was a lot of controversy surrounding Ezra Miller and Johnny Depp and all of that going from Crimes of Grindelwald to Secrets of Dumbledore. But fans didn't respond well, and it failed at the box office. And to say that I'm surprised that these films are not being continued would not be true. I am entirely not surprised. I did like Secrets of Dumbledore significantly better than the previous entry. But what we're seeing now isn't necessarily the death of the Wizarding World. It is basically just a restructuring, right? So what I would like to see going forward from the Harry Potter franchise, if this is something that J.K. Rowling and Warner Brothers Discovery are still interested in, because they still are making a lot of money and could make a lot of money on this franchise. There's a lot to expand upon. I think going about it with the Fantastic Beasts characters was the wrong move. There's so much you can do with the backstory and the upbringing of Albus Dumbledore. There's so much you can do in the childhood and backstory of Voldemort. There's so much you can do about Harry's father and the backstory with them. There's so much you could do building off of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And as much as I don't even like that property, it's a property that exists and one that we might see dug into with the new Hogwarts Legacy game. So this franchise is by no means dead, but the direction that they were taking it with Fantastic Beasts was definitely set up to potentially fail, and it did. And so what I'd like to see in the future is a restructuring of their priorities with this IP. I'd love to see a TV show of any of those subjects that I just listed. In 20 to 30 years, I would love to see, and this is an opinion I've had since the last film came out, I would love to see the Harry Potter books made into a TV show. I would love to see each book made into a season of a Harry Potter specific TV show. And here's my hot take of the day. I would love to see Daniel Radcliffe return to Harry Potter in the role of Severus Snape. I want to see Daniel Radcliffe play Snape. For those of you unfamiliar with the books, Alan Rickman's casting, while it was fantastic, he is significantly older than Snape was meant to be in the books, right? So Daniel Radcliffe could potentially play Snape any time in the next 25 years and pull it off appropriately according to his characterization in the books. I would love to see that. I think that would give us a lot more detail and space within the franchise to expand upon these stories. Specifically in Half-Blood Prince, I think we could see more with the romantic side of things done in a better, more developed way than in the films. I think Voldemort's backstory would play itself very well in a television format. So, me speaking as a YouTuber with less than 10 subscribers at the moment of recording this video, if I were in charge of Warner Brothers Discovery and I was in charge of going forward with the franchise of Harry Potter, I would start with the ideas that I put forth about like the Marauders or Voldemort or Dumbledore, do a TV show with that, and then 10, 15 years down the line, remake Harry Potter. You could use the same original sets. You could use all of the filming locations, all of the filming ideas that you used in the original films, but make it a TV show. Make it a TV show. Structure it where you have a new season every year to year and a half. And each season has about 10 to 15 episodes where you combine maybe 1 to 4 chapters and like make the chapters make sense in a storyline progression. So if you need to rearrange some things from chapter to chapter so it better fits like a television mold, we understand that. But I would love to see all of the details from these books stay in the medium of television or even in film. But film, as we know, would be a lot harder to do because these are long, very detailed books. But with that being said, thank you very much for joining us for our Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts Wizarding World, all that jazz live stream, going through our spreadsheets and talking about the universe. This week, like I mentioned, we'll be talking... This upcoming week will be our soccer live stream, so we'll be talking Premier League, MLS, Bundesliga, La Liga, Ligue 1, Serie A, maybe Liga MX, maybe a little Canadian Premier League. We'll see. But expect like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometime in that point, we'll, I think, be going over a tier list of the 2022 World Cup kits. And ranking them on a tier list. I just got that idea now. I think it's genius. So we will check that out later this week. But we will see you next Monday specifically for our soccer live stream. So thank you very much for joining us. We will be back with Harry Potter in a few months' time. But for now, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.